Time for the 49ers Rush Podcast.
There's a few things that I consider to be staples of the 49ers Rush Podcast, whatever show, YouTube, content creator, whatever the heck you want to call us. And a lot of that is, the two foundations: building more knowledgeable fans so that they can enjoy the 49ers experience, whatever that is, and two, being positive. Now, I'm human, obviously, the worst of which a lot of times. And, I don't want to just be, just a rubber stamp and just be gung-ho 49ers all the time. Like, there are things I am critical of, and I try to voice those consistently. But I remember there was a time when I posted like a very negative football clip, and I just cut it, no context, showed it, and I was like, this is terrible, and it picked up traction. It got millions and millions of, social media, whatever, and I just felt awful. I was like, man, like, I don't want to be that guy. And so I've tried really, really hard to be much more positive and, pay attention to good things, not necessarily just the bad things. Now, having said that, sometimes I don't achieve that goal. And I think with Jake Moody, when the 49ers picked him in the third round last year, I was beyond disgusted. Not because of Jake Moody. I think Jake Moody's a good kicker. And again, this isn't going to be like a hit job by any stretch. But I do think Jake Moody's the kicker of the future. And I think that he's a good kicker of the future. And I think the 49ers, in that position, you don't have to worry about that for at least 3 years. We'll see when the rookie contract ends and all those things. But there's a lot to like about Jake Moody. Now, the misappropriation of funds and draft capital, I'm never going to get past. That's not a Jake Moody slam. It's a kicker slam. And I understand kickers are people too, but third-round picks should never be used on a kicker ever. Ever. Even if they are the best ever. You go back to Seabass. It was a first-round pick. They almost cut him a year later. Eventually turned out to be incredible, but still never worth a first-round pick. And I'm glad Jake Moody's on this team. I think he's a good player. Last year on the countdown, he came in 37. This year, he's at 33. So he's increased his, ranking. His highest ranking was 32. His lowest ranking was 38. Shout out to Josh, the producer of today's episode. And I'm excited to see what Jake brings into 2024. He's, his best and his worst were all in the playoffs. He missed a kick in every single playoff game, including the Super Bowl. 2 field goals and an extra point. I know somebody's listening to this like, oh, but the extra point was blocked. Why was it blocked? Go ahead. Tell us why it was blocked. Go watch the replay. The ball barely got 5 feet off the ground. It was all Jake Moody's fault. 100 perfect hold, perfect snap. Yeah, it was blocked, so it's not a quote-unquote missed field goal. It's a missed field goal. 100% on Jake Moody and nobody else. Even the trajectory, while it was super low, that thing would have missed the uprights by about 20 yards, it seemed like. Maybe it was going to adjust or whatever, but it was indoors, so you don't go through 3 playoff games, miss a kick in the divisional round, miss a kick in the NFC Championship, miss a kick in the Super Bowl that goes to overtime. Like, that hurts. But my favorite thing is that he had the 53-yarder with under 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl that he just nailed. And whenever I say, like, he nailed it, that dude nailed it. Like, that kick would have been good from probably like 68 yards. I mean, it was right down the middle, had another 15 yards on it. It was the best kick of this kid's career. And so to walk off, and then he made another one in overtime. It was like a 27-yarder. It was a short one. But so there's a lot to build on. And I think that he had a good year. I don't think it was a great year. It was a slightly above average for NFL kickers, slightly. And so, again, you're the second highest picked kicker in a decade. Slightly above average, not good. Right? Like, that's replacement level. And, like, there's guys, Chase McLaughlin and whatever. Like, you keep going on and on through all these names that had better years that were on our rosters. Now, I'm not big into the Robbie Gould, whatever. I thought we held on to Robbie longer than we should have, but he has been amazing in the playoffs. Never missed a playoff field goal, whereas Jake Moody, he's already missed 3 kicks. in 3 playoff games. And so, like, that's the difference. Now, I think Jake Moody's best asset is the length of the field goals that he can make. And, we're going to go through and we're going to kind of show the makes miss percentages ranks for every level tier of, field goals made. But let's dive into just kind of who he is, what he brings to the table, and the background to what Jake Moody is. 6'1", 210, wears jersey number 4, 24 years old, young guy. He's going into his second season. Michigan kid, born and bred, Northville High School in Northville, Michigan. Parents are diehard Lions fans. He played for Michigan, all that kind of stuff. Was a kinesiology and sports management major at Michigan, which is awesome. 5-star recruit in kicking magazines. I don't usually read kicking magazines, but was great for Michigan and Jim Harbaugh. And, he had that famous quote, "Death, taxes, and Jake Moody." It wasn't really that his rookie year, but I'm hoping he gets kind of past that. He's Michigan's first ever Lou Groza Award winner, was a 2-time finalist. He's Michigan's first ever Big Ten Kicker of the Year, did it twice. I mean, you can go on and on and on and on. He was incredible in college. There's no doubt about it. But that does not carry over to the NFL. Now, 5-year letterman, this sticks with the man. He's got a lot of experience, National Honor Society. He was, all academic Big Ten 4 years in a row. Like, you love those things. All those things are huge, but you've got to bring this over to the NFL. And most fans were not happy at all, myself included. Shout out to my man, Brian Carter 99. We were live for the draft when they announced the pick, and you can see our faces. If you're watching on YouTube, I have the still shot, which a listener sent to us. You can tell we were not happy. And again, not trying to fault Jake Moody, the 49ers had a lot of value on the board. This is a 3rd-round pick. It's number 99 overall. This is a top 100 pick. And, John Lynch and them come out and like, yeah, well, at least we didn't pick a running back, which I thought was funny. I like it when Kyle jokes when we're really, really mad. But I do the same thing to my wife when we argue. Like, it's like we're in a dead argument, and like she's all riled up. Like, I'm throwing a joke in there, and it's going to end poorly, but I can't help it. I'm not going to miss an opportunity for a joke. And that's kind of what Kyle gaslights the 49ers fans whenever they get to say, hey, at least you didn't pick a running back. But man, like I like Jake Moody. I'm glad that he is our kicker. I'm excited for the potential. He could be the best kicker of the NFL. You just got to get consistency. His leg placement is terrible next to the ball, and he is just not consistent. At least he wasn't last year. Now, and here's why I went back and just looked through the draft just like quick, and some of these guys these are all guys who could possibly compete for a starting job that were picked after Jake Moody. Now, I understand that's a huge selection pool that we're pulling from, right? He's picked 99. There's like 260 picks, so I get that. But listen to all these position players, starters, that were picked after him in no particular order. I just went through and basically filtered by, playing time and contribution with guys that might start next year. Or 2024 in the NFL. Puka Nacua, Dontavian Nix, Blake Freeland, DeJuan Jones, Anthony Bradford, Roshan Johnson, Sidney Sal, Henry To'oTo'o, Trey Palmer, Demario Douglas, Jalen Jones, Trey Tucker, Chamari Connor, Chase Brown, Dante Stills, Carrington Valentine. All kind of premium positions. You go in the following year, you draft a 1st and 4th round wide receiver. Man, you still had Puka Nacua, Dontavian Wicks. I mean, Trey Palmer, Demario Douglas, Trey Tucker, all those guys would be starting for us. But now that 1st-round pick that you used on Ricky Pearsall, not saying I don't want Ricky Pearsall, I'm just saying kickers, you can pick them up at any time. Freaking team just picked up a guy that hit back-to-back 60-yard field goals for free. Didn't even cost a draft pick. It's so the misuse of draft capital will always be in the back of my mind, and I think a lot of fans' minds. That doesn't mean we don't like Jake Moody. It just means, come on, man. Like, so many players. There's so many players on this list that's just like, oh, man, we could totally use them. Not to say we can't use Jake Moody, but whatever. All right, now, let's go through his year, okay? PFF grades last year, 68.0 field goal, not good. 45.9 kickoffs, terrible. Terrible. And the funny thing is, it even makes the pick look worse now because they changed the NFL kickoff rules. The 49ers were one of 3 teams to vote against it because you drafted Jake Moody because he was supposed to help you with kickoffs and touchbacks. And now they changed the rule. So now you can't do that. All right, you can do it, but they get the ball at the 30 automatically. So that's 5 yards per kickoff, less value. And he might not even win that job because he's so inconsistent over our punter, Mitch. So we'll have to see what that is. Had a 60% touchback rating last year, which was terrible. And that's after he had a couple very bad short kicks and that were returned for a huge thing because our kickoff coverage is abysmal. It's so terrible. And everybody like on social media was like, oh, the coaches are telling them to do that. The coaches are telling them to do these short squib kicks. And then Kyle Shanahan gets up there and goes, nope, that's supposed to be a touchback. We don't know what happened. And so like the inconsistency and like his misses even at the field goal, when he misses, he misses. It's not like they're like he's got some like, woo, like you way off. It's not like you sliced it or hooked it a little. No. You're out of bounds, you know? And so like that's an issue. Teams against us, their average starting field position is 25.7. That's going to go up this year with the new kickoff rule. We'll see what happens. He scored 123 points last season. Now the postseason, again, better. 72.5 on field goals. His degree of difficulty for field goals went up, and Shanahan trusted him, and he delivered. 71.3 kickoff. Better. Now, again, did miss a kick in all 3 playoff games. Missed 1 game-winning field goal against the Browns. That one hurt big time. That started the 5-game slide. That started the Brock Purdy narrative. I can't play in the rain, blah, blah, blah. Brock Purdy did everything that he could to get that team back to win. Brandon Ayuk had his worst game of his career, still did enough without Debo to get us down there to win the game. Talk about changing narratives if that kid makes that kick. Man, would have started 6-0. It probably didn't weigh too heavy on the season, but the narrative started there. Would have won Week 18 against the Rams, the game that didn't matter where everybody sat everybody. He missed a field goal in the second quarter, ended up losing by 1 point. The game didn't really matter to anybody but McVay, but, he bets on those games, so yeah, that's what that is. Somebody gets that joke. Missed 2 field goals in the Packers and Lions. We talked about that. The extra point, talked about that, but did break the Super Bowl record for, kick that was made. The field goal kick that was made 53 yards was incredible. But Harrison Butker goes and breaks that record after that, so he doesn't hold the longest kick in Super Bowl history any longer. But, did hit that kick in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes left, did hit the kick in overtime, so a lot of positives to build on. Now, before I go through and just break down his percentage on every single kind of kick from, 20 to 30 yards, 30 to 40 yards, so on and so forth. Let's listen to the 49ers special teams coach. This is a quick 2-minute video. I like it. It's really, really good. Just kind of summarizing Jake Moody's rookie year and what he's excited to look forward to going forward.
Side question, Jake. It was really cool going through the whole season with Jake. To get Jake away and have him process it through the film. And really I asked him to do it, what was going on in the week. What was going on in your life, what happened, put it all together on your own. And then we came back, with Pepper and Mitch and all the coaches. And it was really cool just to process it all. Mitch has been a great mentor to him. And when we get through it, 3 things really came out that were really clear. Number 1, it was a tremendous learning experience. He had so many things come up, game situation, all those things. And when you're talking about a rookie, you try to prepare them the best you can, and just things happen when you play the game. So number one, the lessons that he learned and the situation was wonderful for him to set a base. The second thing that really stood out, he always responded to adversity, which to me is that's what kickers have to be. And we're trying to close down the adversity, but that's what is impressed with me late in the season too, and even the Super Bowl. And that's like leading up to everything. All rookies, that first year is hard. And when you take a kicker, he finished his season, he goes right to working out, he goes right to the combine, he has individual workouts, his leg is shot, he comes right to here. So monitoring how much we kick and always paranoid that you're not getting enough is a fine line. So you walk that dance all year. But ultimately he's built for this. And I say that because of the Super Bowl. He was so fired up in that game, so excited. I mean, that stage he excelled on. And, you know, he had the 55 record right off the bat. That was broken. And we missed an extra point in there, which was really affected the game. But to see him come back and with a minute 57, hit the, I think it was a 53-yarder. And when you look, that was his best kick of the year. So to me, I know exactly who he is because I'm around him every day. And
I like it. You look at these positives and how he's kind of coming off the Super Bowl. I really hope he just picks up and kind of carries that on. Now, if we look at what he did all year, extra points, he was great. 68 out of 70. Obviously, the one in the Super Bowl is huge. That's 97%, which 17th best in the NFL, right? There's 32 teams, 32 kickers. He's average. Like 97% is good, but that's average. Field goals attempts, 81.8%. That's 27th best. That's bottom 5. That's bottom 5 in the NFL. That's not good. That's not good. Field goals in 20-yard range. So 20 to 29 yards, 7 for 7, 100%. Great. Tied for first. 30 to 39-yard field goals, 9 out of 10. That's 90%. There are 25 kickers in the NFL that were 100%. He missed one, so it's not the end of the world. But, again, 25, more than half the league, 100%. 29th for Moody, bottom 3. 40 to 49, 5 of 9. 55%, 0.6. That's 30th best. 40-yard field goals, right? And so I think a big reason why fans get so mad is that's where Robbie Gould was great. That was his range, 40 yards. I can make 40-yard field goals. And so you're switching somebody that always made them to somebody that, man, just over 50%, which is terrible. But then the difference is the 50-plus yard field goals. This is an added thing that you never got with Robbie Gould. In fact, you couldn't even attempt a field goal if you didn't get past the 30-yard line. Add the 17 or 18 yards for a kick, blah, blah, blah. Like, you had to punt or go for it. Well, you know, he's 5 for 6 on 50-plus yard field goals. 83.3%. He's better at 50-yarders than he is at 40-yarders. Makes no sense. Hopefully that change. That's 8th best in the NFL. The long kicks are his special trait. Chicks dig the long ball. Shout out to the SportsCenter commercial with Greg Maddux and Tom Glavine. One of my favorite commercials of all time. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. 90 SportsCenter? Somebody? So, like you can see, the length of field goals is a weapon. And you use that in the Super Bowl. That was huge. Played in all 20 games. You know, Jake Moody is the kicker of the future. He's just got to get more consistent at the routine things. Kickoffs, 40-yard field goals. If he doesn't even increase at a lot of the other areas, I don't care. Just the 40-yard field goals, those are the ones where it's like, you got to work here. And if I was Brian Snyder, let's say we kick 50. We're not going to kick 50 field goals in practice, but let's say you kick 20 field goals in practice. 12 better be in the 40-yard range every single time. The other 8, cool. You take a couple long ones, take a couple short ones. You got to improve 40-yard field goals, and I think that's the measuring stick for Jake Moody. That's what you got to do. So excited to have this kid. And again, the negativity isn't on Jake. It's on the position and the draft capital. glad to have him. If you would have drafted Jake Moody with the 6th rounder, which he would not have been available then, and if that's the case, you go get somebody else, I wouldn't have been mad about that either. But I'm excited for him. Hopefully he becomes the best kicker ever. Ray Wersching is by far the best. You got Nedney. You got a lot of great kickers. The 49ers have had a lot. Jake Moody drafted way higher than almost all of them. So hopefully he can go and seize that opportunity and become a 49ers legend in his own right. Nothing would make me happier. So enjoyed this. Jake Moody comes in at 33. And for us, we'll just keep counting them down.